Hi, and welcome back to the tea on what it's like to be a Christian virgin waiting for marriage. In this video, we're just getting right into more big sis advice, and I'm going to make this video like speaking to younger me again. I've made at least one video like this before, but I'm gonna open this right up by saying the number one practical revelation that really helped me out on my journey of waiting for marriage was when I learned at around the age of 20 about the hormone vasopressin. And I'm going to credit the psychologist and attachment specialist Adam Lane Smith for this. One day I think that his videos just popped up on my YouTube, and that was the first psychologist, that was the first person I learned about the hormone vasopressin from. And when I was actually in a relationship in the past that was long distance, I actually reached out personally to Adam Lane Smith for counsel on struggles I was going on in that relationship. It turned out not to be, God's will for me and that person to be together, and that was a while ago. But Adam Lane Smith was actually really supportive when I reached out to him through messages, and he's the person that I first learned this from. So what I learned was that, and it was something that when I was a teenager, my mom kind of was like hinting at, but she didn't have this knowledge, this like scientific knowledge to back up what she was saying. And so when I learned this from the therapist, it really like brought my mother's instruction to me from a young age to life. So essentially, oxytocin and vasopressin are both bonding hormones. And in women, oxytocin is the main hormone by which women bond, but for men, it's vasopressin. Oxytocin is the hormone that is released during physical intimacy. So when a mother gives birth and she's breastfeeding, that is the hormone that is released when the mother gives birth, and when she is nursing, that helps her bond to her baby. That same hormone is released in the woman a lot during sexual intimacy. And so women naturally, because of how God created us, bond through sexual intimacy. But I learned that men bond through the hormone vasopressin more. It's like, I believe both of the genders have, both of these hormones, but each one is affected more deeply, I guess, by each of the hormones respectively. So for women, it's oxytocin, but for men, it's vasopressin. For men, they bond more through vasopressin. So what I learned was, in times of stress, when they have to work, to accomplish and achieve something, so when they invest, when they have to go through a difficult trial and overcome that with another person, one of the examples that was given was like during war, how men who are in like the military and go out to, really through really tough circumstances, fighting battles, for example, they bond with other soldiers through the stress that, they have to overcome together. And that's vasopressin bonding. So what I learned was that sex for men does not inherently bond a man to a woman the same way that sex and sexual intimacy would bond a woman to a man. And it felt like that counsel came at the perfect time for me, because at the time, I think I was around 20 years old when I first learned about vasopressin, and I was still a virgin, but I was debating at that time, am I really gonna wait for marriage or not? Because as I shared, there was a lot of peer pressure, and I was not certain if that was actually what I was gonna do. And that learning about this science really helped me see the practical benefits to waiting for marriage. So on oxytocin and vasopressin, it really started to make sense to me when I was a younger girl, and there were like teen girls around my age who were sleeping around, and they were getting into sexual relationships with these guys, and the guys just didn't respect them. I just noticed the girls would be super clingy to the guys, but the guys would just not, they weren't in the same mental space. And my mom would try to warn me, like, without this scientific knowledge, you know, these guys aren't attached to these women, they're seeing them as objects. My mom would say he sees her as a piece of tail. Like, he's pursuing her because that's a piece of tail for him. But in reality, the man didn't actually respect the woman. He wasn't actually emotionally attached to the woman. There was nothing actually there binding that man to that woman. The girl was just, you know, offering herself up for free. And, you know, gross. But my mom warned me all the time when I was younger that about this concept of, hey, just because you see a girl in a relationship with a guy does not mean that guy is as invested in whatever they have going on as that girl. And so this gave me a very practical scientific background and foundation for that observation. And it helped me understand that in terms of vasopressin, if I want a man to truly honor the vulnerability that comes with the attachment that I would experience becoming sexually intimate with a man, that would mean allowing that man to work and let him develop some vasopressin attachment to me before, you know, a sexual relationship commences. And for me, since I'm a Christian, over time, it just with all of the scientific knowledge, but also with the counsel of my mother and eventually my dad, and you know, just seeing, you know, the fruit of when women around me didn't make the decision to wait, it became a conviction in me, hey, wait for marriage, like, just remain a virgin until you're married, because it's not worth it, really. And yeah, so that's one thing. And another thing, this is a little more detailed, but this is something that when I was a younger girl, like teenager, it really would have helped me to just have had someone to tell me outright, because a lot of younger girls are confused, and I saw this happen again and again. Girls and guys and the friend zone, okay? And this is embarrassing for me to say, but again, I saw my own friends and peers struggle with this, my female peers struggle with this. And so very simply, when a girl puts a guy in the friend zone, like genuinely, she is really disgusted by the thought of sexual contact, any sexual, like, you know, relationship with that guy. She genuinely has him in the brother zone, and the thought of being in a romantic relationship with him makes her cringe. And I've seen this again. But when a guy puts a girl in the friend zone, I learned through observation that just because a guy has you in the friend zone, he genuinely does not see you as someone he can fall in love with, marry, or any of those things. Guys are willing to put the friend zone and the friends with benefits zones are can be pretty much one and the same for guys in a way that they aren't for girls. A guy can have no personal attraction to you and still pursue a sexual relationship with you. And so upon seeing that among my peers, it put the fear of God in me, because to this day, it's something that, because I'm a girl and because I know that I oxytocin bond, I can't even fathom that. I mean, I've been on this earth for almost 25 years, and I still cannot fathom how a guy can genuinely see a woman as absolutely nothing other than a friend and still be willing to sleep with that woman. That just has never computed. It probably never will. And I don't intend to make that compute. But that is something that very simply younger girls, I believe, need to know, because there are younger girls who develop feelings for a guy, even like these teen girls, and they think that because of the way that women bond through oxytocin, if they enter into a sexual relationship with a guy, if they start sleeping with this guy, it's going to cause the guy to develop feelings for them. And that could not be further from the truth, because men and women, God made them different and they bond differently. Investment is a better indicator, you know, the investment of a guy's resources, time, advice, counsel, you know, and obviously above all commitment and marriage. You know, if we're talking about the sexual relationship, the only type of commitment that validates the sexual relationship is wedlock. But girls, especially young girls, it's like there are so many that either aren't taught this, they aren't being taught by their parents this, and they're just giving it up for free, thinking that because we bond through oxytocin, that means that the guys that they sleep with are going to bond to them the same way, and it doesn't. That's how these girls are getting pumped and dumped, essentially. I'm thankful that I never experienced that. To God, you know, all glory to God for that. Again, I had a very strict mom, and that really helped me out because my mom did not lie to me. When she saw a girl was on her way to getting used and dumped, she would warn me, first of all, you're not to be friends with that girl. You know, that you're not allowed to bring that girl to your house as a friend. Stay away from that girl. And there were very strict boundaries around that because, yeah. But my strict upbringing, but also seeing the fruit of when girls did choose to be easy and how bad it was, really put the fear of God in me to be like, yeah, no, that is never going to be my story, ever. I'm going to do things God's way the first time, and I'm going to wait for marriage because I know that God did that on purpose. He knows what's best for me. And again, that's the thing about the Bible. God knows what's best for us, and that's why he commands us to do what he does in his word. End of story. And I believe that oxytocin, vasopressin is an essential example of that. So yeah, I'm trying to think, because I think I have more than one point that I wanted to share in terms of big sis advice in this video with the younger ladies. But oh, and also my mom got me this beautiful dress, and it's purple. I'm in my Proverbs 31 woman, you know, space, because it's written, she is clothed with fine linen and purple and wears purple gowns. And so love this dress, and thank you to my mom for this. But yes, I believe that it would have been even wiser for me to learn about oxytocin, vasopressin from an even younger age. And it's something that I'm going, like, if God gives me a daughter someday, I'm going to teach that daughter that while she's going through puberty. Like, I learned it at the age of like 20, but I'm going to teach my daughter that before she even reaches the age of raging teenage hormones, because I believe it's something every girl needs to know. I want to talk more, but I think that that's all I got for now. But yeah.